Hey everybody, it's Libby from Hero Arts. How are you today? You just got a little sneak peek of who's here with me today. Welcome. It's our My Monthly Hero Make Along. We're so glad you're here. Hello everybody in the comments. I'm so glad you're coming in. We're live on both Facebook and YouTube today. And we are going to be creating with, let me just show you real quick, the July kit from Hero Arts. This is still available if you don't have one yet. So if you're just watching along and commenting along and saying hello, this kit still is available. If you like what you see and you want to pick one up, there are still a few left. So I just want to also mention that if you are watching either live or on replay and you want to make these cards along with our artists today, if you are in the Hero Arts Kit Fanatics group on Facebook, you can upload your card there. And you have until, I think it is September 9th to upload your July kit card in the July album. And then we'll do a little giveaway to a random person that we draw who made cards this month. All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to take myself off of full screen. And I accidentally showed them at the beginning, but here they are again. This is Shannon and Sika, two of our wonderful artists on our creative team. And they are going to be making the cards today. I also just want to point out real quick that we have an instruction sheet. This is the instruction sheet, and it is available if you go to our blog post. And I'll put it in the comments just after I'm done with this and hand it over to Shannon. But there is an instruction sheet that you can either have up on your screen or you can print off and have that goes through these cards as well. And we had a blog post yesterday that had all the supplies that the artists are using today. So without any further ado, Shannon, I'm going to make your desktop big and you can take it over. All right?
All right. Thank you. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to make this card here. I actually shared this in the countdown. This card has a really fun kind of background. I love creating these smaller backgrounds with for a scene. It's just a nice way to kind of scale down your scene, but still, have all that like atmosphere. All right, I'm making sure everybody can hear me. Okay, good. All right, so we are actually so the one thing we're gonna do a little differently today, Sika had a brilliant idea of stamping our flamingos from my card and her card at the same time, because obviously the flamingos from this set are a layering stamp set. So that way you don't have to reposition, when you get your layers in the right spot, you don't have to reposition them again for Sika's card after mine. So we will do that, but actually I'm gonna start with the background on my card. Then we'll do, because I'm going to follow the instructions as I wrote them if you're following along. So we actually start with the background and then we will do the flamingos. So let's start with the background first. So I'm going to put this stamp set aside for a second. All right. And then I'm going to grab a circle die set. And I'm going to use this third largest die from this set to cut out my circle. Put my card to the side. I'm just going to cut out a white cardstock. So I have some white cardstock here. Place it down and we will die cut this out. Try to be a little conservative so I can save that bit of cardstock for something else later. Then I'm going to grab my Misty over here and I gotta run this through one more time. Didn't cut quite all the way through. I probably have to angle it a little bit. There we go. So just angling the paper a little bit, so I'll run it through one more time, and that should do it. Okay, so we've got our circle die cut out here. Grab that. And in my instructions, I actually do the ink blending first, I believe. I'm just going to quickly go back and forth. It doesn't totally matter the order, but I just want to make sure I'm following along the instructions the same. But if, let's see, I do ink blend the background. No, I stamp it first. So I do stamp it first. Okay, great. So I'm going to grab, so we're going to use something a little differently. We're going to create, so there's a layering water set or stamp in this stamp set. This is the base, and then you'd stamp this detail layer on top. I love solid stamps. I love stamping and overlapping the inks a little bit because the dye inks or the inks are a little bit translucent. And so when you overlap them, you get different shades, and I just love the way that looks. So when I saw this solid stamp in this set, I was like, oh, I'm going to play with that for sure. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I'm going to grab the base layer, that solid kind of rectangle stamp, and we're going to stamp our water, but we're doing it kind of a abstract way. We are stamping in different colors to kind of create a gradation, and it'll still have a really cool look, kind of going for a little bit more graphic look for this background. All right, I'm going to start. So I have a bunch of ink colors picked out to do this water because I want it to have that ombre look. You could actually achieve this. I spilt my drink before the live here a little bit on my ink pad. You could actually do this in, I just realized I'm off camera. You could do this in fewer colors. I have 5 colors picked out. You could do this kind of in fewer colors if you stamp your ink sometimes twice. So you have 2 layers of ink, and that will make it a little bit darker. So that's a get around if you don't have as many shades of this kind of pool color like I do. But I love inks, so I have a lot of inks. Those are my things that I spent money on a lot right away. That was my big purchase because I love ink, having lots of colors. But that's a good get around, is to kind of stamp your colors twice so they're a little bit darker than one layer. I'm going to position my stamp a little bit higher than halfway. I'm going to put my paper down here. Normally I would always take my paper and place it in the corner. Because we want to go all off edge, I'm going to just use the bottom lip of my MISTI here to kind of help me stay straight. And I am going to only stamp it once. If you are going to stamp twice, you can use this leftover piece here, which we'll actually do this using a jig. This is basically using a jig with your MISTI. We'll do this when we stamp the flamingos, but I'm just going to go without it. Hopefully I'll do all right. So that looks a little bit higher than halfway. I'm going to pick up my stamp now. Great. Pull my magnet down a little bit. And we're going to start with the lightest shade. And for me, that is going to be Arctic. Just kind of clean this off a little bit. Looks like I got some stuff on here. I don't know. I always got things sticking to the stamps. Just ink this up. This is a beautiful color. Have you guys seen the whole Cora ink line? Oh, it's so exciting. All these colors. All right, let's stamp that down. There we go. That's our first layer for our water. Perfect. I'm going to clean my stamp. I'm going to reposition it. You could just slide your paper up if that's easier for you. But I want to have at least my paper touching one kind of right edge. That's just what makes me feel in control when I stamp with my MISTI. It's a great set, isn't it, Maureen? It's a great set. Okay, so now we're going to position our next layer. I am going to overlap the previous stamp layer just a bit, just to make sure we don't have any white space. But again, so I don't, so I have that little bit of overlapping of ink because I think that looks so cool. All right, I'm going to pick that up. Trying not to move it when I pick up the paper or the stamp. My next shade, we're going to do a reactive ink. This is Pool Party. Yes, the Misty is a game changer. You could essentially stamp this though by hand. If you were more sure of your hand stamping skills than me, you could definitely stamp this by hand because I'm not going to stamp. The goal is not to stamp any of these stripes twice. And I think I'm going to ink that. I'm looking on camera. It looks like I missed a couple spots. I'm going to ink it up a little bit better. All right, that's good. We're going with it. Stand up and really press down. Nice. And do you see that little bit of overlapping? Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love that little bit of new color we get, and that it's a little bit darker. Ah, I love it so much. All right, I'm cleaning my stamp. And I'm going to line up my next layer. Again, I'm going to overlap a little bit. Now, don't stress about overlapping, making sure you're overlapping the exact same amount on each previously stamped stripe. It's okay if it's a little off. I think it's more interesting that way. And I think I might do it intentionally on this layer. I think maybe that's a little bit bigger. I do want to make sure I have enough to go all the way down. I want to make sure I cover all the way down. But if I do have to stamp one twice, I will. I'm glad you like the colors. You can never go wrong with pool, right? A pool toned. So pretty. Okay, the next color we're going to do is Paradise. So again, I'm just getting progressively darker with my inks. All right. And look at how beautiful. Oh, I love it. I love stripes. Stripes are one of my favorite things in card making. Striped cardstocks, stamping stripes. I just love stripes. All right. I think we can get one more in before we move our paper. I will eventually move it upward, but I think we can get one more stripe in. Yes, this is a stamp from the kit. Let me show you the kit again so you can see where I grabbed it. It's the base layer for the water. So see, there's 2 layers for the water, detail layer, base layer. So we're doing the water a little unexpectedly, a little differently by stamping kind of a striped ombre water. All right, I'm going to go very kind of no overlapping this time. I mean, okay, there is overlapping, but very little, because you always want to overlap. That way you get, so you have no white spaces. All right, picking up this layer. There we go. And we're going to move on to this color. Now this color looks like it would be lighter than Paradise. This is why it's so important you swatch out your inks. So you don't just go off of, I know it's like probably preaching to the choir here, but I was really resistant to stamping out my inks. And this is why it's really important to kind of stamp them out so you can really see what the true color is. I didn't have time for that. That's what I used to think. I ain't got time to do a swatch book. And actually it was my sister who's like, you need to swatch your inks. So I'm actually going to go one more time here with this color. I'm going to stamp it again. I'm going to go risky here. Oh, thank you. It's not a fancy swatch book. I don't think but a well-used swatch book. All right, I stamped that one twice, so it's a little bit darker. All right, and we are on to our last layer. I love how it's looking. It looks so cool. Okay, for the last layer, I'm not really going to fit it in here, and it looks like it might be a little bit wider, so I'm going to have to stamp this one probably twice to cover that white space that I left at the bottom. But I'm going to slide this up so we have the bottom open. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to stamp it twice, but that's okay. Since we have to stamp it twice, I'm just going to go for it. Pick this guy up here. And stamping twice, I mean I'm going to have to stamp this last ink, or to reposition the stamp and stamp it twice just to cover, because you can see there's still a little bit of white cardstock there. There we go. I'm trying to pick it up and not move the paper, so I'm picking it up very carefully. Now this last color is going to be Bermuda. Ooh, this one's very juicy. All right, I'm gonna stamp that. And I'm gonna stamp, because I got a little, we probably didn't ink it properly, weird spot there, so I'm gonna stamp it again. Isn't this color pretty? Oh my gosh, this Bermuda. It's gorgeous. Oh, that's gorgeous. All right, clean and stamp it one more time. So I'm pretty happy, nothing shifted even though I stamped it twice. And I'm gonna line up this last bit here. And stamp this, and we'll be done with our water. And do it one more time. All right, a third time. All right, perfect. Do you see right there what I was talking about just stamping your inks multiple times and you get it darker? See this layer, let's see if I can point correctly. This layer here was 2 stamps of the Bermuda, and this one was 3 stamps of the Bermuda. And see how it's a little bit darker? So that's one way to kind of get this ombre look with fewer inks. You'll still need, you can't do this with just 1 ink. You'd still need at least 3 inks, I think, to create all these stripes and get a gradation. But that's a way to kind of, you know, get that ombre look without so many ink shades. But I do like the tonal kind of differences between the ink shades. Super pretty. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so let me clean up real quick. And all this ink, by the way, will come off with the, I'm not going to bother to do it right now. I'll do a real good clean later, but it will all come off of my mouse pad with Ultra Clean. So don't worry if it stains. It'll come off with Ultra Clean. Looks like Libby shared the swatch chart. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to put this stamp back, and now we're going to move on to a little bit of ink blending for the sky. Yes, like the Ultra Clean Scrubby. Yep, that will work. That's really handy to use this guy and this to clean my Misty. Super handy. Scrubber block, and this would be what I use to clean my chamois is just what I use to kind of quickly wipe down stuff in the moment, but if I really want to get it clean, this is what I'll use. Okay, so now we're on to the sky. I'm going to grab a new color, Mist, which is a little bit bluer just because I wanted something a little different. I wanted a little different tone for the sky. I didn't want it to be in the pool family again, but you could definitely use like Arctic instead if that's what you have. But I wanted a little different look. Okay, and now we're going to do something I'm not particularly good at, which is ink blending, but we're going to do it anyways. I'm going to grab some scrap cardstock here just so I can kind of, you know, tap off that excess. Great. Kind of get it loaded and going. And I want to create a little ombre look here as well. So I want it to be darker up here at the top and lighter as we get towards this horizon line. Now we are using a light shade, so that's going to be that. So if you get some of this light blue, this mist ink, maybe I should have it like this. If you get it, I thought I better get my, since I'm doing ink blending, get my stand here. If you do it where you get some of the ink on the horizon line on this color here, it shouldn't really show up because that's the nice thing about light ink. Everybody's saying hello from their steamy part of their neck of the woods. I'm in Arizona, so it's definitely hot. I don't know if I can say it's steamy because it's not humid here, but it is 97, so we're as hot as you are in Texas. Okay, I'm starting to ink blend. We're going to do this really light, so if you even leave some of the white of the paper, that's okay. We're keeping it very light. Just don't want to have this whole sky be white. We want to add some color. It'll be 100 soon. Yeah, we'll probably get to 100 today. But again, you know, I feel 100 in Arizona is not so bad because it's not as humid. I think humidity is hard, man. It's hard. Hot and steamy in Maine. I have family in Maine. Maine can get hot too sometimes. Especially when we go visit our family. Nobody has air conditioning. They don't have air conditioning typically in Maine. Oh, Maui. Oh, no. Kathy, no fair. All right, I'm going to put my circle back in my Misty, and we're going to stamp some clouds. So I'm going to grab I'm trying to look, where's my card here? What kind of clouds did I do? I did a couple. So I'm going to grab both of these let me hold them up so you can actually see. Both of these clouds from this set. Yeah. Oh, your doggy's having 15th birthday. Awesome. Oh, I'm going to have to pull it away from the side here so we can get both of these clouds on here. Didn't get the morning walk. Is it because it's too hot? That's a bummer. Kind of position them like so. Something like that. Whatever you like. And then we're going to use that same ink, the Mist. Where did it go, though? I lost it. I don't know how this happens, but this happens every time. Okay, let's see. Oh, there it is. I put it aside. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to ink up these clouds with this mist. And even though we're doing, we did the ombre, this blending for the sky in mist, stamping is going to be a darker or a heavier application of the ink, so it's going to show up over that blend, which is a light application of the ink. So even though it's same color, you're going to get it show up. And I think I'm going to leave it just like that. Isn't that beautiful, nice and subtle? Awesome. And that's our whole background. Isn't that cool? Definitely a lot of my inspiration for my cards that I made with this release was somewhat 80s inspired, where it's kind of like a graphic, almost geometric background. Dee's here. Hi, Dee. Dee's in California, so it's going to be, and by the ocean, so it's pretty nice over there where Dee's at. I'm super jealous. Thank you. I'm glad you like the background. It's fun. Something different, you know, than using the set with just the layers. Just a different look, but with the same stamps. So I love that you can get so many looks with stamps with just the same kind of images, but changing them a little bit makes them look so different. Oh yeah, you could definitely do other things with those stripes than water. I mean, look at how beautiful they are. Have you covered them up? Oh, so pretty. I'm coming, Dee. You better watch out. I'm coming. She doesn't know what she started. See, I'm a Disney fan, so we go to California quite a lot. All right, so now we're going to do the flamingos. We have our background done, so now we're going to do the flamingos. The first step in the flamingos, and I think this is what, I'm pretty certain that's what Sika did too. So let me double check real quick. Oh no, she didn't die cut first. I'm going to have you die cut first. So it's a little different than Sika, but same result. I'm going to have you actually die cut your flamingos first. Hopefully that's all right, Sika. Mindy's here, cool.
Of course.
Hi, Mindy.
It's all right.
All right, so I'm going to start with my flamingos, but if you want to, go ahead and die cut a second pair of flamingos, because we're going to do Sika's and mine. So basically you're going to stamp. So let me explain the process. We're going to stamp. Hold on, let me get my brain together here. We're going to stamp one die cut flamingos, one layer with whatever ink I'm using. And then we're going to grab our next die cut flamingos, pop it in our jig, and stamp the first layer with whatever ink Sika's using. So we need 2 die cuts of flamingos. So I got one here. We're going to die cut a second one. Now this one that you die cut, you want to make sure you cut it out of a panel that you have a nice 90-degree corner in. I'm not surprised you took a nap. You had a busy day, Mindy, yesterday. Looked fun. I'm going to actually turn my paper this way. And I'm not going to, so I am going to be a little bit wasteful of paper here, but I want to make sure I have enough space, enough cardstock around my flamingos. So this really works well as a jig. So we're going to use this leftover cardstock as a jig. So I'll place my flamingos there and die cut that. And again, we're going to need 2 flamingos. The second set of flamingos, you can just die cut out of any scrap paper, but you want to do one out of a panel that has a nice 90-degree corner and a fair amount of cardstock around it so you can really have a good jig. And a little burnt. Oh no, sunburnt really, when you get sunburnt, it really takes it out of you. You're really tired the next day. I hate getting sunburnt. I'm like, I've vowed to really try to never get sunburnt again. And I've done good so far. We went to the beach. We camped. I think I told you guys this last time. I'm going to run this through one more time just to make sure it's die cuts through. I think the last live I talked about how we were going to go camping in California for a week right along the beach. And I'm very happy to report I did not get sunburnt that whole time we were there. But we did have to do a lot of application reapplying, and we are basically white with sunscreen the whole time, but we did not get burnt. Except for my daughter did get burned in the back of her neck. That was a bit of a bummer. That was like her first sunburn too, and she was like really unhappy about it, which I don't blame her, but we missed that spot because her hair is up in a braid, which is normally not. And I forgot to do the back of her neck, which I felt really bad. All right, so now we have our 2 die cut flamingos, one for my card, one for Sika's. Now we're going to take this leftover, the negative. This is going to be our jig. So we're going to pop it into our Misty. I'm going to use my magnet, kind of hold it in place. Always want to make sure it's nice and snug and in that corner. So our alignment is always right on our layers. Take one of your die cuts, pop it in there. And if you want, if you're worried about getting confused, you can take a little pencil mark and put it on, you can put a C on the backside of one, and that will be the one that is for my card, if that is helpful. Okay, I'm gonna pop this in, try to line up all those little, I don't know what you call those little kind of looser parts of the negative, which is now going to be our jig, into place. There we go. So I hope everybody's doing okay, following along so far. If you've never used a jig before, I love it so much. It's great for mass producing, which is kind of what we're doing, but it's also helpful sometimes to do it with layering stamp sets that have more thin areas, because this is going to be how we make sure we get everything lined up to the die cut, because we are actually lining it up to the die cut. We're going to start with this layer for the flamingos. This is going to be our base layer. There are 4 layers for the flamingos. We're going to start with this layer here. These are the 4 layers, but we're going to start with this one. Here we go. And I'm going to line it up to the die cut. And this is the trickiest part, but it is, you kind of have to look, you know, lean your head over, and put my head on camera here. You're going to lean over to the side and really look and see if you've got it lined up. Check both sides. I think it needs to go over just a tad. There we go. That's nice and lined up to the die cut. Again, we make sure that this this panel is still in the corner before I pick up my stamp. Now I'm going to pick up my stamp. All right. All right. And it just puts it, because the stamp's so sticky, it pulls the cardstock out, but that's fine. The die cut out. That's not a problem. You just pop it back in. No big deal. All right. There we go. Now we're going to ink up for my, because we're going to do my flamingos first. We're going to ink up this layer in cotton candy. I believe this was one of the inks included in the kit. I am going to go kind of rogue. I'm not going to use just the inks that are included in the kit. I'm going to start with cotton candy. Put it here so you can see. Simply just going to ink these eyes up in that cotton candy. Make sure we're all in here still. Great. Fold it over and stamp. Awesome. I'm trying to decide if I want to stamp them one more time. And I think I will, just because it's a little light there in the middle. So I'm just inking up the same color, just stamping them one more time, just to kind of darken my ink. Again, make sure everything's still lined up. I can't stress that enough. Making sure everything's in the corner and your die cut's still inside the jig. Perfect. Look at that. Beautiful. So good. Okay, so we're going to take this die cut out. Don't remove your stamp. Leave your stamp. Don't remove it. Take my die cut out. Put that aside. I'm going to clean it real quick here, just a little bit. I'm using my hand here to kind of dry it because it's a little wet. My chamois is not just damp, it's pretty wet. All right. Now I'm going to grab that second die cut and pop it into our jig. Live hand cleaning, yep. Okay, so now, which is probably why my hands always look like this, but oh well. Now we're going to ink up this one for Sika's card with Peony. And she uses the colors that are included in the kit, I believe. So this is the lightest pink from the kit. So clean that. Ink up this guy. And again, we're doing Sika's Flamingos and my Flamingos kind of at the same time, just to save you the trouble of having to line up your stamps twice. That's really the only reason why. And look at, I just pulled out my die cut just like that. That's the only reason why we're doing it this way. Beautiful. I'm going to stamp it one more time. Yeah, messy hands never bothered me. I used to be a potter, so I was always covered in clay. My hands were always a mess. So messy hands certainly don't bother me. Something I'm just used to. All right, look at how beautiful. Uh-oh, I'm frozen. Oh, good, I'm frozen. Look at how beautiful those flamingos are. So that, now we've stamped both sets of flamingos, both of our die cuts, with the base layer. So you can actually now remove this stamp. So I'm going to clean it real quick and remove it. Place it back here on my acetate. Oh, you have a pottery studio? Awesome, Penny. I just discovered a show that's like the Great British Bake Off, but it's pottery. And we just started watching it. We need more shows to watch as a family because I got little girls. And this is a great show to watch as a family because they do like the Great British Bake Off. But now they have pottery, and I'm really realizing how much I miss clay. I might have to go back to it. Take a class or something. I have a wheel at home and a kiln, but I kind of miss the community atmosphere of a studio. I know, I can't believe the set isn't sold out either. I love layering sets. I think they're so fun, and these flamingos are the cutest. All right, so I've got this is my first die cut. This is the one with the C on the back of it. Okay, so this is the one for my card. And I'm gonna grab the next layer, which is going to be this layer here. You can kind of notice the way we work is you work with the solid down to the least solid, or kind of the smallest area. That's kind of how we're working with layering stamps. So I'm going to grab this one here. Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. The Great American Stamp Off. I love it. Why don't we have that? That would be so fun. A little stressful, probably. I won't lie, but it could be so fun. It doesn't have to be stressful, right? Okay, I'm lining it up with the die cut again. So I'm going to kind of lean over and look and make sure it's all lined up. This is a little off. Just adjusting it. Okay, I think that looks good. So I'm going to pick it up with my Misty. And again, stamps are sticky, so it pulled off my die cut. No big deal. Pop that die cut back in. All right, now for this layer on my flamingos, we are going to move on to Azalea, a really pretty pink. I just want bolder, darker with my flamingos. That's the only reason why I'm using different inks. So I'm just going to ink up. I'm going to try to put this on camera so you guys can follow along. Ink up my flamingo layer. I hope everybody's following along well. Yeah, I'm definitely not a subtle girl. I'm a vibrant color girl. I always try to use subtle colors, and I'm like, and then I end up looking at the card, and I'm like, this is still a vibrant card. What happened? This is particularly true with the last kit, which I love, the August kit. Okay, so pretty. I'm gonna stamp it a second time. Flamingos are your thing. That's awesome. Because this kit was for you. Stamping a second time just to make it bolder and darker. There we go. Look at that. Wowza. Perfect. I'm going to clean my stamp, but I'm not going to take it off. We got to leave it on because we have the second set of flamingos to stamp. I always have to remind people because I was in the bad habit of always quickly cleaning my stamp and pulling it off my Misty. Cleaning my stamp, pulling off my Misty. And when you do layering, when you're doing this jig technique or layering, you know, stamping multiples, you pull it off and you're like, no, now I have to realign it, reposition it. Okay, we're going to take that die cut out. Now we're on to Sika's die cut flamingos. So soft and pretty. See, her flamingos look so good with her really pretty vibrant background that she ink blends on her card. Okay, pop that in. There, well, I always get it in and then I pull it out. Now for her flamingos, her next layer is cotton candy, which is what I actually used for my first layer. Oh, the stencils this month, you guys, this month's kit, August's kit, I adore it so much. I love it. It's like reminds me of like a paint by number desert, and I love it so much. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. Perfect. Pull out those flamingos so you can see. Perfect. They look so good. All right, put that aside. Now we are done with this layer. Oh, you have tons of flamingos in Chile. I did not realize that. That's awesome. I've never been to South America. I would love to go someday. Okay, I'm going to pull off this layer now. And I'm going to grab my flamingos, pop them in here. This is the one, again, this is the one for mine. Mine are darker. That's how you can kind of tell. And plus I wrote the C on the back side. Doesn't really matter if you get them mixed up though. Not really. Not really. Just would have lighter flamingos on my card and darker flamingos on Sika's card. No big deal. Okay, and now we're going to move on to this layer here with the legs. Okay, I'm going to do something a little weird for this one, but we're going to position it. I'm going to do something weird when we ink it up, but we're going to position it like normal. So go ahead and line this up with the die cut. I think we're lined up already. That was pretty easy. Are we away from the edge? Hope not. I'm going to check it. I'm going to double check and make sure we're lined up still. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay. And we're back in the corner. Everything's fine. So for this layer, I'm going to ink this up a little differently. We're going to use two inks, Crimson and Cotton Candy. Okay. Cotton Candy is going to ink up. We're going to ink up the legs, and Crimson we're going to use for the feathers. I see that I'm frozen. Okay. I'm going to first ink up with Cotton Candy, and you can actually be, you don't have to be precise with this inking up, even though this is just intended for the legs. Because this is the lighter shade, you can ink up the whole thing if you wanted to. I'm going to try to ink up just the well, I'm going to focus on inking up the legs. And if I get some of the feathers, which I definitely am doing because I'm not being careful, I'm not going to worry about it. So I inked it up with Cotton Candy, and we're going to stamp it. Awesome. Those are our legs. I'm going to pop this back in. I'm going to stamp it a second time. Slowly but surely, all the little negative pieces that were inside, kind of stuck in the die cut, are coming out. I'll pop them all out later, but we don't need to worry about them right now. So I'm just inking up the legs again and stamping them in Cotton Candy one more time. So just because I wanted light flamingo eggs. I wanted light flamingo legs. Okay. Now, for the feathers, this is where it gets, I'm going to make it complicated. Sorry, this is just something I always have to do, is make things hard. I'm going to ink up the feathers with crimson, that darker color. Now I'm going to use kind of the corner of the ink pad to kind of help me ink up only those feathers. Now if I get a little bit on the legs, that's okay. Sorry for my lagging internet. I'm not sure what the dealio is. Okay, I'm going to ink up. And I'm really using this corner to help be more, I'm going to pause here for a minute. Really using that corner to help be more precise. Oops, you know what, hold on 1 second. I'm going to tell my girls to, I don't know if that was going to help at all. Let's see. And if you see you've got some on the leaves, you can kind of try to wipe it off a little bit. But again, I wouldn't super stress about it. Yep, the cube would be super easy too. Yep. And if you have the mini cube, it'd be even easier. Now I'm going to stamp this. And you can start to see they're getting a little bit darker. I'll stamp it one more time just because I feel like I didn't press hard enough in the center. Oh yeah, that's looking so good. I'm going to do it again. I promise Sika's is easier. Sika's, you're just going to ink it up. I made it harder. I just really wanted the legs to be a lighter shade. I didn't want them to be a dark shade like the crimson. It's really that red color. That was just my preference. Okay, so I inked them up with the crimson again. Make sure we're all still lined up. Great. And stamp this. And I think I got to do it one more time even. Just not looking quite as crisp and as dark as I'd like. All right, that looks amazing. Okay, that I'm happy with. See how great those look? We got nice dark, and you see I did get a little bit on the legs, and I'm not worried about it. It doesn't bother me that I got a little bit on the legs. I'm all right with it. Okay, now we're done with my that layer for my flamingos. Now we're going to stamp Sika. So I'm going to quickly kind of clean my stamp a little bit here. All right, and grab her die cut. Place it in your jig. And then we're going to ink up this layer in Azalea, that beautiful pink color. Yeah, I think it looks okay, Jillian, with a little bit on the legs. This is a good stamp. You can get away with it, you know. Okay, so for hers, really simply ink up the whole layer with Azalea. It's so interesting how everybody approaches the things a little differently, and I love it. Awesome. I'm going to stamp it again. Look how good they look. Oh my gosh, they look great. Beautiful. And that's it. Look at how cute. See if I can pop these guys out. There we go. So cute. All right. One last layer. I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but we're doing two at once and using different inks, so it's taking a little bit more time, and I want to make sure I'm going slow enough or fast enough. Not going too fast that you're getting lost. Okay. Put this back. The last layer are those beaks. Let me hold it this way so you can see. It's the beaks and the eyes. This one that almost, I don't know, kind of looks like shoes to me for some reason. Got to pull this one off. I got to put my die cut back in. I'm going to go back to mine, which is the darker one with the C on the back. Pop it in my jig. Make sure my jig again is nice and in that corner. Pop it in. Oops. All right, that looks good. And we're gonna grab those beaks and line them up. Oh, my kitty's gonna be noisy. There we go. Now to pick this up. Great. Pop it back in. Oops. Oh, my poor jig is getting used and abused. I only have this and Sika's last layered stamp, and then we'll be done. Okay. I'm just going to ink this up in black. My kitty's name is Elodie. She wants everyone to know she's here. So I'm just using Hero Arts Intens-ified black. Oh my gosh, the beak layer adds so much. Stamp it one more time just because it's make it a little darker. Yeah, thank you. My husband named her. We have two kitties, Elodie and Bijou. So like French names. And I think I gotta do it one more time. I'm having a not get in the middle for some reason today. There we go. Perfect. And that's my set of flamingos done. Let's do Sika's now real quick. Sika's is the same thing. She uses Onyx Black pigment ink, which I, surprisingly enough, don't actually own. So I'm going to use the same black ink, the Intens-ified black. But she does use Onyx Black. But I don't own it. It does make a big difference. Oh, your husband's allergic? Oh. We contemplated this weekend, I won't lie, getting 2 more kitties. I thought about it. I really did. I'm just a little bit worried. I think that my 2 kitties would be really mad at me if I did that. So, and I'm a little bit worried about like how stressful that will be to introduce them. I don't know. Which Hero Arts inks is archival or waterproof? I think this one is waterproof. It doesn't say it's it's acid free. So yeah, for archival. So this one is both. This one's waterproof and archival. Then Hero Arts Intens-ified black. All right. And that's Sika's. Your kitties which? I think they would. I mean, they adjusted to each other because I had Bijou first. I'm thinking, because I was thinking about getting the kittens for my girls. But I don't know. Well, we have some more time to think about it. And meaning more time for me to maybe talk my husband into it. But 4 cats? Does that make me a crazy cat lady? I think it officially does if I have 4 cats. All right, those are our 2 sets of flamingos. So you have yours now done for Sika's card too. Do you have I do not have dogs. Nope, I don't have dogs because, well, to be honest, I'm not a super dog person. I don't dislike dogs. I just don't have the patience it takes to train them. And I like to go on trips and stuff, so I don't like that complication. Our cats are pretty good. If we have somebody checking on them, we can leave them here and they're fine. But dogs, you can't get away with that stuff. My boyfriend was named after his family cat. Oh, God. That's hilarious. I love that. We almost named, you know what? I have to claim that we almost did the same thing. We loved Elodie so much, and we were kind of bummed that we used Elodie instead of using it for one of our kids. And we ended up naming my second daughter pretty close to Elodie, which is Everly. And I think it's because we really wished we could have named her Elodie, but, you know, we decided not to name her directly after the cat. Oh, Shih Tzu, that's what my daughter wants to have. She wants a Shih Tzu so bad. All right, let's finish up this card. That's what she would pick. All right, I'm getting my bearings here. All right, so we're gonna grab our background. We can put Sika's Flamingos aside for her card. And that's how our flamingos look on the background. So good. We do have one more thing we have to do. We have to quickly stamp a sentiment from the set. The set has amazing sentiments. You're gonna need some black cardstock. Do I have a scrap here that's small? This'll work. That'll do. And I'm frozen again. Okay, great. Yeah, they really pop. The background's so fun. It's almost a shame we cover it up so much because I love it. All right, and we're gonna grab the You Tickle Me pink sentiment. I'm being naughty and already not putting my stamps away properly. So it's a disaster. We're gonna grab the You Tickle Me pink. There's great sentiments in this set. And I'm just going to position it here. I'm going to fussy cut this out. If you don't want to fussy cut this out, make sure you save enough space to kind of cut it into a linear strip. That's totally fine. So he knows when here's the Misty, it's stamping time. It's time to get some cuddles. I am going to put some anti-static powder. My cats don't bother me when I craft, usually. It's very rare they bother me. We're going to ink this up in Embossing Watermark ink. And I'm going to do it one more time just to make sure. I got enough of it on there. Great. Pull that out. Grab my white embossing powder. That looks incredible. Okay, I'm going to heat set this with my heat tool. I have two girl cats. I think I don't know. See, I don't know enough too. I'm like, I was wondering that too. I was thinking I'd get two girl cats again. I want what Sika has. I want two kitties that are best friends because my cats hate each other. And I want two kitties that are best friends. So I wanted to get siblings. And so that's what I was thinking about, these two kittens, plus an opportunity arise. Somebody found kittens and they were trying to get them adopted. So I'm thinking like, oh, this is the chance. There's family, there's siblings. But I'm wondering like, do I have, like, does it matter what gender I get? Does it matter? Do I need to? See, I don't know. That's something I don't know. Okay, I'm going to heat set this with my heat tool, so it's going to be a little noisy. Oh no, 3-way gang up on one? Oh no. I was worried about that too because I remember reading one time about like how like sometimes a light can be switched off all of a sudden and then they're just like don't get along even when they've been getting along. We have had both dogs and cats vet bills were higher on one cat than 3 dogs. Don't tell me that. Oh no. All right, so I'm fussy cutting this sentiment out, but you can definitely cut this down a strip. You can kind of cut along here, straight edge, and then maybe hand cut this part out, or just kind of make it a nice big strip. It's totally up to you. I'm going to fussy cut this out. Aw, I love that. He's white with blue eyes. Jack Frost, that's a great name. He has his own chair. That's so cute. All right, so I'm going to start fussy cutting this out. kind of follow along the bottom here. Now here where it's pretty straight under tickle, I'm just gonna go kind of my trick where it's just I kind of make it bumpy. Kind of wiggle my scissors back and forth. They don't totally follow the bumps, but enough that it's gonna look, I'll show it to you when I'm done cutting. Same here for the me. Your eye will kind of make it align up. I'm gonna cut off this excess here. It's just getting in the way. All right, so we got our bottom cut off. Now onto the top. And I do have some stray embossing powder, little bits. Most of it I'm going to cut off. If there's any leftover ones that I didn't quite wipe off enough, you can use a black marker and kind of color over them to hide them if you didn't spend the extra time to really clean them off, which I clearly did not. Kind of cleaned it off, but I didn't spend a lot of time getting really precise. Okay, almost done. A little trickier now just because there's less to hold on to because we've cut so much away. I am always a fan of, I love these fussy cut sentiments. I know they're kind of a pain, but I really love the way they look, so I apologize if you don't like them, because I probably will continue to do them still. I can't make any promises. But I'll stop. I'm going to trim around this pea a little bit more, and then we'll be done. All right. There's our sentiment. Oh no, you cut off part of the words. Oh no, I'm sorry. Grab my card base here, and we're going to wrap this up. We're going to start by simply adhering our sky right down. Let's see if I can pick this up. Just going to use liquid adhesive. You could lift this up with foam adhesive if you want, but we are going to add foam adhesive to the sentiment and the flamingos. Sometimes I don't like to get too crazy with foam adhesive. All right, that looks good. Grab my foam adhesive for my flamingos. Here it is. I'm going to add some. Oops. And I'm going to cut a couple thin pieces for the legs just to give them some support. I'm not going to worry about the necks though. They'll be fine. Okay, this is my last piece. And I'm going to go ahead and add some foam adhesive to my sentiment too. All right. Now I'll kind of flip this over and use my scissors to kind of hold this down. Kind of make sure we get the positioning right. Making something like that. Making a mental note where everything is. I could use press and seal if I wanted to kind of pick them up and do it that way, but I think we can eyeball it. So I'm just removing the backing now on the foam adhesive. Ah, I can't do this one. Okay, there we go. I gotta stand up for this part. It's a big tip for getting things lined up right, is standing up. Cute. I love how they pop on that pink and that pool. Looks so pretty together, those colors. And now we're going to get this guy down. Maybe just a bit over. I gotta stand up again. I can't do anything centered or straight unless I'm standing up. All right, that's it. I'll hold up so you guys can see real quick. Super fun. I love the little subtle clouds in the background. Kind of wish I stamped this one higher so you could see it more, but you can definitely see that one back there. And our fun stripy water. So cute. All right, that card is done, and you guys have your flamingos ready for Sika's card. So we're ready for her to take over.
Thank you, Shannon. Your cards are beautiful. Thank you for guiding through how to stamp these flamingos. And as you were about, I don't know, halfway through stamping your flamingos, I was like, oh my gosh, you can't just magically like pass those flamingos to me. So I stamped up my own extra set. I'm glad I thought about that. So if you're just joining or if you joined midway through, Shannon did the stamping or guided through the stamping for these flamingos. And I used 3 colors from the kit. So Peony, Cotton Candy, Azalea. So Peony, the lightest color, is the base. And then Cotton Candy is this middle layer. Azalea, the darkest color, is this layer. And then I just used a black ink. I happen to use a pigment ink for the beaks and the eyes. So that one is all set to go. And then for the background ink blending, I'm using Lemon Drop, Taffy, Creamsicle, and Berry Smoothie as my background ink blending. So I think first, let's just go ahead and finish off the flamingo. So for this, instead of using foam tape, I actually just cut 2 more sets of flamingos out of scrap white cardstock. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now and get it kind of queued up here and glued together so that the glue has a couple of minutes to dry, and then we'll get to ink blending. So I'm just using some scrap heavy white cardstock. If I can find my scissors. I'm just going to run it through twice. Oops. Blending smoothly. So I think paper makes a huge difference. So I actually prefer to use, sorry, this is an awkward angle for me. This is tight. I prefer to use coated paper, like a Bristol Smooth cardstock. Bristol Smooth lets the ink stay on top a little bit. And then I'm also using these reactive inks. The reactive inks have a pigment quality to them, and usually pigment inks will sit on top of the paper just a little bit longer and give you that time to blend the colors together. I think it's also easier to go for a more saturated look like this card. When you're blending and you're blending off into white, that can be really difficult, for me anyway. And then the other tip, and Mindy talks about this a lot, is to make sure that your brushes are saturated with ink. So I suspect it's just, once you get your brushes to a saturation point where they will give up ink more than take it, then you can transfer that ink to your paper and it can be smoother. So let me set this aside, and I'm just going to poke out all of these negative spaces, and then we're going to glue these layers together. Yeah, paper is key. So if you're not feeling successful with ink blending, try a different tool, try a different paper. Everyone has their preferred combination of paper, ink, and tool. So if you're not successful, don't give up. Excuse me. I really don't think it's you. It might just be the combination that you're using. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to glue these layers together. And this is just instead of foam tape, this is building up some dimension on the flamingos. You can also use foam tape. I often use foam tape, but in this one, because the legs of these flamingos are slim and I wanted them to be well supported, I decided to just use some scrap cardstock. So we can make a little bit, kind of like a chipboard, I guess, piece here. There we go. And then I'm just going to set a block on top of those for the time being. Oops. Okay. And then now on to ink blending. So I've got a piece of white cardstock, and I am going to use, this is just 2-inch Post-it tape. If you have 1-inch Post-it tape, any kind of masking paper, I'm just going to mask off the borders of this card to create a frame. If you don't have masking paper, you can also just blend out the whole panel and then trim it down to a smaller panel and then glue it onto a card base or another white piece of paper. So this is kind of an extra step that I do. Sometimes it's not very noticeable, but it's nice when it comes in the mail. The card comes in the mail. It's more of a 1-layer background instead of 2 layers. And then to get the most out of my 2-inch paper tape here, I'm just going to trim it in half and then mask off using the straight edges on either side. So I'm gonna do this first, which is just to anchor my panel to my grid here. And again, this is the straight edge, and I think I masked about 3/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna eyeball that there on my grid mat. And then I'm getting another 3/8-ish of an inch here. And then same with the top and the bottom. Oops. Speaking of cats, all of my cards have a contribution from the kitties, which is airborne, very fine cat hair. Let's see if I can. It's a little bit hard for me to do that, see it without getting my head in the frame. So sorry if I did. Okay. So now I'm going to peel this up gently and actually just put it on a scrap piece of paper. Oops. Guess I should peel it up more gently. I'm going to work on the scrap piece of paper. So I like to start when I ink blend. I'm very fuzzy, aren't I? Okay. I like to start when I ink blend on the ends and kind of work my way in. So my ends are going to be berry smoothie and lemon drop. Just going to set these up here using an ink stand from the ink stand just to hold those in place. So sorry for the camera. I was hoping that this black background was going to be better, but I'm sad to say it might just be my camera. Okay. And then I like to flip paper, so I'm right-handed. So I will work from the right side with this dark ink first. The dark ink is berry smoothie. See if I can get in focus. Okay. So again, I'm going to go really heavy into this, and then on the side, blend out and just make sure that I've got some good coverage on my brush. And then I'm also going to use a Post-it note just to protect my fingers. You could use some more Post-it tape. So this is sticky side up here. And I'm just going to come in from the side and start a little bit light. And then start to press more and more and more. Back into my ink. I'm starting off to the side and coming on. I'm just really going to build that up. And I'm letting it fade out just a little bit. I'm going to blend that eventually into another color, so I won't worry about that too much. And then I'm going to flip this around and then start with the yellow at the other end. So again, really loading up my brush, testing it over on the side. Ooh, that yellow is very, very juicy. We are blurry. I'm so sorry, Sherry. I'm going to have to find a different camera. I can't quite figure out what is wrong with this one. This is a Brio. It's a webcam that I use all the time for meetings and Zooms, and it's just fine. But for some reason, when I'm downward facing, it doesn't want to cooperate. So thanks for your patience. Yeah, look how juicy that yellow is. And then again, super saturated towards the end of the card, and then a little bit lighter up here because that's going to blend into our creamsicle. So I'm going to get out the creamsicle. Look how bright that is. So this is, Hero Arts has blending brushes now. This is the medium. No, I'm sorry. This is the large size. And then this is the small size. There's actually one smaller at the bottom of the collection and then one bigger at the top of the collection. So I'm just going to load this one up. Summer Drinks and Taffy, yes. This one is really juicy too. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful now because when I come in here, I'm going to start just a little bit light. And it looks like I have a scratch in my paper. Which is catching, I bet that's from a kitty. He gets all the blame. Sorry, kitty. So that scratch is going to be visible in the end, but that's okay. You hopefully do not have a cat who is very insistent on being close during crafting. So I'm kind of being not too careful here. So it's hard to see, but I'm overlapping and there's some swipe marks, but that's okay because I'm going to go back into the other colors. Okay, so now that I've gotten a decent layer of orange down, I'm going to go back into the yellow. This is where I need one more ink stand. Back into the yellow and essentially kind of clean up those wispy orange streaks that I had. Now I'm blending that yellow into the orange, and the orange, I'm pulling that orange back into the yellow. And I'll just go back and forth. Very light hand at this point, and I did not go back into the ink. I'm just using that ink that is still on the brush and kind of just softening that line. I think that's fine for now. Blend it a little bit more. Okay. And now I'm going to grab the taffy. So this is a really pretty purple pink color. And the same thing, actually, I think I'll flip around here. So load up my brush, tap off just a little bit just to see how much is on my brush. That's really juicy too. And then I'm going to come in over that remaining white stripe that I need to fill in. Yes, my cat does. I have a boy and a girl. The boy is the one who wants to lay on the craft table. I was struggling with him earlier, trying to get him off. He just wants to be right here, but he's over off to my side, sleeping right now. It was interesting. Somebody asked if Jack Frost was deaf. My kitty had an incident early this year, and I think lost quite a bit of his hearing, which I think might be why he is really wanting to be close right now, just so he doesn't lose track of me. Yes, Dee, you do need more inks, or you don't, but you know, I figure inks last more than a large Starbucks. That's my justification. So now I've got this here, and it's looking pretty stripy, and so this is where I'll go back into the colors and just do some back and forth blending until those kind of smooth out. There's nothing wrong with this. You could definitely keep this look as well, but my original card had a little bit more of a smoother transition, so I'm going to go for that here. I did put a little bit more ink onto this purple brush. I'm just blending well over into that pink area. And then without adding more pink, I'm just going back with the pink brush, kind of introducing those two colors to each other a little bit more. I love these colors. And so, of course, you can use any colors you like to blend these. I don't know, these just felt very tropical to me. So because I used my pink brush and I was touching the purple a lot, I'm just going to brush it off on the bottom here before I start working the pink into the orange, because there might be a little bit of purple in there. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the pink and just smooth out that orange line a bit. Yeah, this is a very bright, bright background. Probably a little bit brighter than I normally do. I'm going to add a little bit more orange, just right at that meeting point of the orange and the pink. Okay. So I could spend a lot of time going back and forth and just kind of massaging these, but I don't want to belabor it and bore you all, but it does take time. So, you know, that's another thing about ink blending is that you can see I've laid down a lot of ink. I've gone back and forth between the colors multiple times. So when you see those finished cards, you know, that folks are doing that look super smooth, don't forget that it takes a lot of time. And so if you're not feeling like you like your result, just keep working it. It's the great thing about inks that sit on top of paper and that are really kind of have that pigment quality to them is you can just keep kind of layering and layering and layering until you get something that is making you happy. Okay, so I love this part because this looks very messy, but when you pull back the mask, so it's very satisfying. And there we go. So as I look at this in the camera, I'm saying to myself, oh, it's a little bit darker here in the orange and it's a little bit lighter here. But ultimately, I still really like it. If I was really worried about it, I could go back in and work it and work it. But there's going to be other things to distract from not 100% perfect blending. And so I don't try to go for perfection because it can be frustrating. So see, look how nicely that works out. So for this card, I actually had the flamingos hanging off a little bit, and I don't know, I kind of like that. I don't know why. It just, to me, it felt right for this image. Shannon had a really nice ground in the center of her image, and so it really made sense to have the flamingos centered with that. For me, I thought just to add a little bit more interest that I wanted to have the flamingos off center and then to add a sentiment over here at the top left to help balance things out. So I'm going to get out a Misty and do that sentiment stamping. Welcome back, Frida. I'm sorry that you were bumped out. Okay. Hold that down. Actually, I'll stick it up here because I'm going to use this as just so I can kind of eyeball where I want to put the sentiment. And the sentiment I'm using today is Stand Tall, Darling. Happy Birthday would be another one that fits really nicely. Flamazing. I kind of went for a sentiment that was a little bit shorter because I felt like it helped balance things over on the left, but use whatever would be useful. So let me grab this. I'm still going to use the Stand Tall, Darling. And I'm going to stick it over there. I'm just going to pull this towards me so I can make sure I've got it aligned. And actually, I'm going to bump it over to the left just a little. And the reason I did that is only because I didn't want it to be exactly lined up with the bird. I don't know why, but it feels better to me if they're not quite aligned. So let me get that. There we go. So I hope that's straight. And then I'm going to take that pigment ink, the Onyx pigment ink. Shannon, I feel like we need to get you this pigment ink. I really like a black pigment ink for stamping sentiments. It's just so crisp, and especially on top of the ink blending that we put down. So crisp. I don't think it, well, I might just go back in one more time. Move this. Here we go. Okay. No. Clean this off here. So Shannon showed these earlier, the Ultra Clean and the new scrubber. I love these. I've been using a scrubber like this a lot, and I like to take my scrubber to the Misty back. So having this woodblock handle is awesome. I also put my Ultra Clean into a dauber top. I feel like this gives me a little bit more control over how much I'm applying and where I'm applying it. So that's a tip if you prefer dauber tops as well. The Ultra Clean is amazing. I have to say, I have not, I only recently started using it. And Mindy, who's also on the design team, told me that it's really good at cleaning off stencils. So sometimes when you clean off stencils, there's just, especially with red inks, there's a little bit of red that just doesn't come off. It doesn't smear or anything. It just doesn't come off. And this takes it off like a dream. So I'm really glad that she told me that. Okay, so the last thing here, well, almost last thing, is to add some glue to the back of these flamingos. It's not a ton of glue here, and the reason for that is want to be careful that the glue doesn't ooze out the sides. This is the reactive ink, and so it will react with moisture, with water, or with glue. So I'm kind of being a little bit careful about how much I use, and I think I'm even going to dab off a bit. Okay. And then, because I did put glue over on the side that's going to hang off, I didn't need to do that, but I'm just going to go ahead and position this cute little bunch of flamingos over here. And I've got a little T-square here. I'm just going to use this to help me line them up. And there we go. I'm going to squish them down just a bit. Ooh, they're loose. Running away. Okay. Like that. Get those guys down. And the next thing is just to trim off the end of this guy here. So I'm just pulling on him a little bit. I want to make sure that the glue has set enough that so that when I turn it over and use my scissors, that I'm not going to cause those guys to slide around. So I'm just taking a big pair of scissors and lining up that top blade with the edge of the card, and I'm going to cut. And it's a little bit thick, so I'm going to go through a couple times. There we go. So the card front is done, and the very last thing is just to add it to a card base. I really like to use glue when I'm adhering a card front to a card base. It gives just that little bit of wiggle room time so that I can get it lined up just right. And someone a few months ago asked why I prefer top folding cards or card bases. And I finally articulated it to myself, and so I thought I'd share with you all, which is just that when someone sends me a card, or when I just have a card on my desk, I really like to just prop it up. And when you prop it up, it's a little bit like an easel, versus if you have it this way, the card face is always a 90-degree angle to your surface. So I realized that that's actually why I really like top folding. So here we go. Let me see. Sorry. Let's see if we can get a focus. Oh, this camera. Gotta go. So there we go. If you are in the Facebook group in the Hero Arts Kit Fanatics, you have until September 9th to upload your cards to the July album for a chance to win a $25 gift card. And then before we go, I just want to give a preview of the August kit. So let me grab that. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to hold these side by side. This was my original card. This was the card today. I went a lot heavier with the same inks, so you can see that you can get a lighter look if you want to, or you can get a darker look. It's the exact same color inks in the background. Okay. So, hi, Diana. This is the August kit. I just picked this up from Hero Arts the other day. All of the kits now come in a 9x11 reusable little zipper tote here, which I love. I had not, I've already played with this kit, but I've not seen it all packaged up like this, and I didn't have all of the extras. So first off, here's the backer, so you can see that it's a Southwest theme. I grew up, well, I didn't grow up, but I lived a few years in Albuquerque, New Mexico when I was little, when I was in elementary school. So this kit was kind of took me home there. Comes with, 5 sheets of, this is a specialty watercolor paper. And there are coordinating dies, and the coordinating dies go with the main feature of this kit, which is a set of layering stencils. And I love that these stencils are sized for A2, so they're not square. It's very easy to work with. And you can see that there is a Southwest theme, kind of a desert theme going on here. Stencils come with these registration marks, so you can ink blend into those, and then it makes it really easy to line up all the subsequent layers. And then with this, the cacti, you could just use the cacti on their own to create different pieces of cacti, cactus plants, and then they're coordinating dies so that you can cut those out separately if you want. And the kit comes with 4 ink colors: caramel, sand, pine, and tangerine, which is perfect for the Southwest. And this is Pearl X powder pigment. This is a really beautiful shimmery copper color. So I haven't seen this in a hero kit before, so that's very fun. And then there's a little sentiment stamp, adventure awaits. So it's all about journeys and adventures. And then I'll just share a couple of cards that I made with this kit that have already been shared. If you haven't visited the release hop yet, go ahead and do that. There's so much inspiration. These are very similar, just a little bit of a different color palette. And with these, I used the stencils in reverse. And so we'll do these the next time that we're together here, but you can use the stencils as they're intended, which will line up with the die nicely, or you can use them in reverse and you can flip over the die, and we'll show that the next time that we're together. So make sure you grab your August kit before they're gone. And let's see, replay of this session will be on both YouTube and Facebook. And we will be together next on the 11th of next month. So thank you so much for joining. And we will see you next time.